After you, sir.
No, thank you. I never let anyone walk behind me. 7 out of 10 attacks are from the rear.
Okay, well, that still leaves a 30% chance that I'll attack you from the front.
Yeah, but it'll be easier to stop. I can always block the blow, or I can counter it, but...
Howdy, welcome to Level Up Producing Level 3, where we're doing plugins. Now, this could also just be called like mixing basics, because plugins is basically the bedrock of all kind of mixing, all kind of producing stuff. What's a plugin? Let's start there. What's a plugin? It's basically any kind of processing you're chucking in a track. Think reverb, think EQ, think delay, think whatever. It's a plugin.
It's a peddling.
Anyway, we're going to be playing with lots of plugins today. In level 2, we worked with 4 beats, 4 tracks. Today we're going to work with 4 different kinds of plugins. Maybe more. Hopefully 4. It'll be fine. Okay, so jumping into the track from last time, you'll notice that I've made a couple changes. Truth be told, I've done all the work already, so I'm just gonna show you, here's something I prepared earlier. You'll notice these, very important change. Specifically, this. I also added in a piano down here, and I just copied that region down, and it's the same, exact same notes, it's just on a piano. So we got some piano and some pads happening. Hotkey of the day, okay? If you press H, a fourth column will show up here with a bunch of H's, which basically says if you press H on any individual track, and then on your keyboard hit H, it's going to hide those tracks. There you go. Hotkey of the day. Done. Let's go to plugins. Talks about what plugins are. How do we apply them? First thing that I did was when you put in all of these presets, like your cinematic funk and your sea of possibilities or whatever, Logic might try and do a bit of clever preset plugin work and put in some plugins that they think that you'll like with those things. What I did first is I went through and I just removed them all. I just straight up deleted them all, started from scratch. I'm about to hit X to bring up the mixer. It's a little intimidating at first. Don't worry, don't panic. It'll be fine. So this is our mixer down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this aux thing over here for a second. These tracks are the same tracks as up here. You know, you got drums, sub, pads, piano, lead. Drum, sub, piano, that. This is just another way of representing this, but it's got a bunch of channel strip information. And that channel strip information in here, specifically in audio effects, is where your plugins are going to sit. And then a few other things as well. Let's start with EQ, which is our first plugin we're going to talk about, EQ. If I click on, let's say the lead, you'll see a bunch of little waveforms are popping up. That's because EQ is a frequency spectrum, and it shows what kind of frequency information is present in your track as it's going along. And with the EQ, you can enhance or limit different parts of that frequency spectrum depending on what kind of sound you want. Now you'll notice here, I've just cut out the low information. You'll notice that all of the important information's in the middle, so if there's anything leaking in the low end, I've gotten rid of it. It's gone. On the opposite side of the spectrum, if I go to my sub, I don't want any of the high end. So with the sub, I've removed all of the high end and I've just kept the low end because that's where the information is with the sub. Same thing with the kick. So the first thing that I did when I started processing and adding plugins is I went through and I added in all of the different EQs for my different instruments. You can bring plugins in and out. These are the channel EQ, just with this little power on, power off button. And I went through for the different instruments and I was like, for the kick here, increase that low end and remove that high end. The snares, I just removed the low end. Same with the hi-hat, but it went a bit higher because hi-hat has higher frequency information. Sub, I removed top end. Pads was a little weird. I wanted to remove the low end and remove a bit of the high end. Because if I keep this, it's kind of got that zing, and I wanted to remove a bit of that zing. Next thing I did was I wanted to go instrument by instrument to make those instruments shine. I started with drums. The most important thing with drums was when I played the drums, they just sounded very dry. Very dry. So the thing to make things not dry and to make it wet is with reverb. So that's where these little sends come into play. Say let's take for instance this guy, this snare, is going to be sent to bus 5. So if I bring my buses back with this aux thing over here, so the snares are going to be sending to bus 5. So if we find where bus 5 is, it's over here. I've got this little space designer guy here, which is a reverb. So this reverb here is this nice small plate reverb. The snares, if I turn them on, you'll see slightly on the dial, it'll be sent to this bus 5. And that's because this is working in parallel. Depending on how much stuff you give it here, it's going to send part of the signal that way to be processed over there, but part of it won't go through there. So if I send them fully through here, it's basically saying send all the signal through there. It means you can have a variable amount of processing on any kind of plugin. If I play my snares, turn this off, very dry, just cuts off straight away, a bit more resonance. Same thing with the hi-hat. It's sending to the same one. And then I got my kick, which I tried to put through here and it just didn't sound right. So I've actually applied it to the stack here. These sends here are actually going to apply to all of the drums because it's in the parent track here in the drums. You'll hear as soon as I, oh, not that much just yet. As soon as I put this on, you hear the with a bit more resonance. Ready? It's off. Yeah. It's subtle. You don't want it to be too much. Ah, that's why there's nothing happening there. I'm an idiot. There's our boom. I just missed that. Nice. Now, bus 4 I introduced delay. And I kind of cheated when I said 4. I'm probably going to hit a bit more than 4 plugins. I'm sorry. I tried. But our third thing we're going to talk about is just a little bit of this delay guy. And it's only going to affect the higher frequencies. But you can hear it's real subtle, particularly in the left headphone. With the hi-hat, you can hear a little bit of an echo, and that's all I want. Just a little bit of washiness. You know, you don't want too much. If I do lots, it's everywhere, right? Don't want that. Now that's drums. It's come alive. It's not so dry anymore, and that's mostly due to reverb and a little bit of weird delay stuff I'm doing. Nice. Now let's move on to sub. Generally when you're mixing is when you got your bass and you got your kick, you don't want them to sort of battle.
No! Come on! Michael! Open your mouth!
And not work together. But because it's lo-fi and because this is level 3, we're not going to go into too much detail. You can do this thing called side chaining, but I didn't really want to learn how to do that properly yet because it's too early and there's too much to cover in this video, so we're just going to fly right over that bad boy. Now, the sub, we want it to round out a bit more. So that's why I've introduced this bus 7 here, which if I turn on, it's not going to do anything yet because I haven't done this. But this is another different reverb using the chroma reverb, which is just, I don't know, it's just some preset. But if I do this, it's got a bit more body, which is cool. And then I combo that with the kick. I combo that with everything else, with all the drums. Groovin'. Cool. So that's our sub, that's our drums. Now, let's go to the piano and pads. Now, if I solo these guys, this is where I got a bit wacky. Now, the thing with lo-fi is you kind of want it to be like, ooh, wavy, ooh, like washy, just kind of vibes run around your head, you know?
That is sort of an oaky afterbirth.
The way I accomplish this is with this phaser thing. And you'll notice I put a phaser over here and a phaser over here because I was experimenting putting the phaser through with series inside this strip or putting it in parallel using a bus. And I kind of like it more with the bus because then you can limit how much is going through this phaser and still retain the original track information. The phaser is just going to make it go wow, wow. That makes me look silly, but as soon as I do this, you're going to be like, wow, that was really accurate. You know, swelling around your head. But I don't want it to be that much. So I turned him down. Now, if I turn this guy off, and I put him in series again, it's way too much. It's way too much, and I can't control the amount I want to go through. So I want it to go through in parallel. And I'm going to send the same stuff through with the piano. And that's all it is. I want that swirly kind of effect and that is achieved. Cool. With the swelly effect on, with the drums sounding a bit more lively and a bit less dry, with the sub sounding nicer and we get to the lead. And the lead is going to be the place where we add in our final plugin, which is when the magic happens. So this plugin is a third-party plugin. It's called Isotopes Vinyl Plugin, the ultimate lo-fi weapon. And it's free. Definitely get this. You go download now, and it'll work. Hopefully it'll work. I don't know, I downloaded this like 6 months ago. What this plugin can do, it's pretty crazy. So for instance, you can add in some mechanical noise. You can add in some electrical noise. I don't really like this one. You can add in some dust. Get that little... Turn this up so you can hear it. Random little specks. You can scratch out as if some of it's kind of like dying. Do this. You can change the era that the vinyl's spinning at. The coolest thing I think that this has is this warp feature. So I'm going to bring it back to 1960s. And the more I increase this, you get that kind of wobbly effect. Especially if I go over to sine. Yeah, the wobbling all over the place. It's pretty mad. You can also do this. Which I'm not going to use, but it's fun. Cool. Now, and I also added in... I didn't add a reverb. Let's add a reverb super quick. Send it to the hi-hat one. A little bit. Cool. We've added in EQ to accentuate the parts of the frequency that we want. We've added in some reverb to make things less dry, make it feel like it's in a live place, in a live room, make it sound a bit wetter. We've added in some delay, but let's not talk about that. That's boring. We've added in some phaser effects to make it sound all swirly, and we've added in this vinyl effect to make it sound really lo-fi. And if we put that all together, we get this. That's plugins, baby. I think that means a little level up. I'm gonna go get a disc. Nice. Where to from here? There are 2 more levels in this little tutorial island series. We've done recording the track. We've done adding in plugins, which is kind of like your mixing basics. The thing that's really cool with lo-fi is you add in some fun samples. Fun little samples.
You cheated on me? When I specifically asked you not to?
Did I stutter? Michael! Are you okay? Swim for it!
So that's where we're going next. We're gonna do some sampling techniques. Maybe they'll be funny. I don't know yet. You'll have to come back in level 4 to find out. Next time on Dragon Ball Z. Woo!